I read 8 books in the month of February. Let's talk about them. I intentionally slowed down a lot this month because I just ingested way too many audiobooks last month. And I also started 2 books that I want to invest so much more time and thought into. First audiobook that I did this month was Curvy Girl Summer by Danielle Allen. This was a book club pick. I didn't like it. As someone who has always self identified as curvy, the character identified as curvy, but I didn't find there was enough discussion about that for the book to warrant the title. She's insulted a bit here and there, but there isn't enough depth around it for me to think that it actually warranted the title. I don't think the book was aiming for depth, but I would have just like maybe a little bit more. If you're currently single and trying to date and using apps though, I do think you could relate a lot to this book because her dating experience was pretty miserable, and from every single friend I know, this book was kind of an accurate representation of dating as a woman right now. My next audiobook was Only Say Good Things: Surviving Playboy and Finding Myself by Crystal Hefner. About a year and a half ago, I listened to Down the Rabbit Hole by Holly Madison, which is another one of Hugh Hefner's past girlfriends writing about her experience in the Playboy Mansion. And my thoughts on it was that it was really like a gossipy, catty take on things. There was some good self-examination, which I did appreciate, but the picture painted of Crystal in that one was as if Crystal had any agency in her life. And the common theme among every past Playboy bunny or girlfriend is that they are so manipulated. The world that Hugh Hefner created for himself was one where he was God and he manipulated everyone around him. And hearing Crystal's experience, it was that exactly. A young woman who was offered money and comfort in exchange for her beauty and youth, who was psychologically beaten down and manipulated to give someone what they want. I was really impressed by her self-examination and how she went about writing this. I really enjoyed this. My next audiobook was Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. This was my second time listening to it, and I was crying just as much the second time. And it did make me bump it up in my ranking. It is now my favorite in the Throne of Glass series. I still think Queen of Shadows is a perfect book. But the ability to write Kingdom of Ash in its entirety just has to be so appreciated. It's incredible. My next audiobook was Hollow by the Twisted Sisters, and I am not going to give this a rating right now because I know about myself that I cannot listen to fiction on audiobook. I have to read it. And knowing that, I didn't like this book. And I don't think that's the fault of the book. I think if I had read it versus listened to it, I might have actually enjoyed it. I've never read anything by the Twisted Sisters. I still haven't started Zodiac Academy. I might give myself maybe a year and then revisit this and physically read it versus listen to it. I am someone who can DNF a book, but when it comes to an audiobook, I usually just finish them unless like the narrator's voice is really irritating to me. So I kept pushing through, trying to give it a chance, understanding that I was the problem. The book was not the problem. My next audiobook was Wholehearted Faith by Rachel Held Evans. If you don't know anything about Rachel Held Evans, she was big in the deconstruction space. She passed away a few years ago. And this was the book that she was writing as she got sick and quickly passed. And her close friends and her husband finished off this book. They narrate it. They tried to do more of the work that she was doing to make people feel seen who have been hurt by evangelicalism. I thought this book was beautiful. I really like everything by Rachel Held Evans. I feel her faith experience is different than my faith experience, but in terms of our upbringing, I think they're very similar. And in terms of the love and the grace that she offers and how she sees people for their full humanity versus are you saved or not saved, whatever that means, I love reading all of her work. The first physical book that I finished this month was The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. I am so excited to be in a new fantasy series that has a big world. I've already started the second, but I was very impressed by this first book, which I don't feel like I've been able to say about a lot of books lately. But this world is already so expansive, and I feel like she did the world building in a way to where it is digestible, but there is still room for it to be even more expansive, and I feel that's going to come because it's a 7-book series, and this is only the first. I really love Diana. And perfect timing for me because the Wonder Wick is releasing a Diana candle, and I will be getting my hands on that as soon as possible. And as for A Man Who Yearns, give me 20 more books with Sam Keel. That is what I want. That man is groveling, and it is hot. My next audiobook was Strange Gods, A Secular History of Conversion by Susan Jacoby, and I am adding this to my deconstruction must-reads. This is a scholarly work, this is not easily digestible, but the history and the research is so important. Growing up in evangelicalism, I was always taught like we are the persecuted, we are the victims, and of course everyone has a time where that is true, but we're taught that that's always the case, which simply isn't true. We weren't taught about all of the times when governments use the name of Jesus or the name of God to go in and wreak havoc and murder and enslave and harm or force conversions on different cultures Otherwise, they'd be executed or enslaved. Like, that is the reality of so much of colonization. Yet, truly, I didn't actually learn about any of that in depth until I was an adult. And I went and I sought out information on my own. Fantastically done book. I have maybe 30 minutes left, but it's going to be a 4.5 star for me. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm about halfway through The Throne of Broken Gods by Amber B. Nicole. And I don't have a solid opinion yet, which is good because I'm only about halfway through. But the first 35% I was not loving. If you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts. In March, I will be finishing Throne of Broken Gods, as well as reading The Dawn of the Cursed Queen and The Wrath of the Fallen. As for audiobooks, it's all based on vibes.